હા ઓકે હા
અને બાકી બધાને મ્યુટ કરતો જજે.
ઓકે ડન.
ઓકે, આઈ એમ સ્ટાર્ટિંગ.
હા ડન ડન ડન.
Okay. Hello, good evening. Today's topic is how to pass DNB orthopedic examination, specifically practical examination. I'm going to describe today some do's and don'ts for practical examinations. First, let's have review of exam pattern. DNB practical exam contains 4 cases, which are 50 marks of each case, total 200 marks of cases. 4 table vivas, 15 marks each, contains total 60 marks, and 1 mod round of 40 marks. So the grand total is 300 marks. And to pass the DNB practical exam, you need to have 150 marks, and they do not give any grace marks. Now let's talk about cases. There are four cases, 50 marks each, 200 marks. Although all 4 cases are equally weighted in marks, but they treat usually as one major case and 3 minor cases. In major case, they are going to ask you a whole case in detail with history and examination findings. And for minor case, they are going to ask you directly a diagnosis, and they are going to start viva according to that. And major case will be hip or spine. No any other case would be designated as a major case. 4 table vivas will be there, 15 marks each, total 60 marks. 1 table viva will be of instruments and implants. Second will be X-rays. Third will be specimen and bones. Fourth will be orthosis, prosthesis, and they are going to ask you recent advances on that table viva. In ward round, which contains 40 marks, they are going to ask you whatever things are present in at that time in that ward. Commonly asked things are splints, slab and cast, dressing trolley. They are going to ask you in detail each and everything about dressing trolley, starting with Chimelbu sterilization drum containing items and all other dressing material present on that dressing trolley, walking aids, biomedical waste, open injury classification management, balcon frame, IV set, urine bag, intercostal drainage tube, all can be asked. Now, the advantageous thing. DNB examination is a different scenario as compared to MS examinations. How? In DNB practical examination, not even a single examiner is familiar with you. The examiners are seeing you for the first time. Opposite to MS examinations, where 1 or 2 familiar examiners will be there. So in DNB examination, do not expect any help from examiner side. So you have no impression of yours in their mind. You need to create it by giving their questions answer within 8 to 10 hours of examination. Positive side of DNB exam. Every single student is judged equally based on his or her performance itself in the exam hall only. And the exam pattern is advantageous. The exam pattern is created so that you will be judged without any bias, and you will have many chances to show your knowledge. If you fumble in 1 or 2 vivas, there will be minimum 9 different viva settings, and if you fumble in 1 or 2 vivas, you will have again left 7 chances to show yourself. Now let's go in detail. Long case. Long case will be a first impression of yours in front of examiners. For most of the students, long case viva will be the first viva of exam. So it is going to decide your impression in front of the examiners, and it can drastically affect your further viva and your scoring marks in other viva. So if you fumble in long case, then your chances of failing in DNB practical exam will be much higher. Long case. First impression is last impression. Now, the most precious thing about you to pass DNB practical exam is a long case itself. If they are going to ask you that, okay, doctor, start speaking. Now, until unless you have been asked to stop or they intervene you with a question, till then you will not stop at all. You will start continue speaking without any gap. Especially, Nimesh,
एक सेकंड.
you will start continue speaking without any interval, and especially do not utter word in between two sentences. They will realize that you have not worked hard enough. Go and go. Continue sentence after sentence. If you forget something, do not wait or do not repeat that thing. Just let it be. If they have noticed, they are going to ask you, or if they have not noticed, they will leave you. For long case, practice minimum 20 to 25 times case presentation before exam. This is minimum number. Until unless you have presented 20 to 25 long hip or spine cases in front of your colleagues, senior guides or consultants, you will not be able to speak thoroughly in practical exam. As I told, do not stop while speaking long case unless you have been asked a question. Do not utter words like speak with confidence. Deliver your answer, deliver your history findings, deliver your examination positive findings with loud and clear. Deliver with confidence. Do not argue. If they ask a question, you answer it. If they are not agree, do not argue. Do not try to become over smart. Accept whatever examiners say. The most important thing, if you are not knowing the answer, directly without wasting a second, tell the examiners, sir, I don't know. And then they will move forward to another question. Do not try to teach the examiners. Do not get depressed or cry in the exam. It shows that you have not worked hard for the exam. Now, give answers short and simple. Never use difficult name or terms. Give common diagnosis, most commonly seen in society. Common diagnosis first, in spite of knowing diagnosis of your case. Do not give examiners a hint that you have been told diagnosis or you have already seen the investigation reports. Most of the time, it gets you biased that you know the diagnosis, you have seen the investigations, and your differential diagnosis. Your answers to their questions will be directed to that thing. So if you are knowing the diagnosis, then forget the diagnosis. Just give the answer as the question has been asked. Keep your mind broad. Speak investigation findings if you know and can mark out it in MRI or CT scan. Otherwise, directly tell that I cannot appreciate, sir. In my exam, a meniscus case was there. I told them, sir, there is a meniscus tear in MRI, and the examiner stood up. They give me a pen and pointer and told me, show me where you are appreciating meniscus tear. So, if in CT scan MRI has been there in investigation, if you are not appreciating anything, directly tell, sir, I'm not able to appreciate MRI or CT findings. Give your answer loud and clear. Examiner gets irritated if he doesn't hear properly your answer and he needs to ask you again. If you know that you have missed something while speaking long case and examiner didn't give attention to it, never repeat it unless asked. Now, some specifically in history findings for history of presenting illness or origin, duration, progression. Many students get stuck in HPI only. Their Viva goes for 10 to 15 minutes or entire 20 minutes Viva goes in history of presenting illness. So go in chronological order and make practice of speaking fluently. You know that how avascular necrosis of head of femur is going to present, how intervertebral disc prolapse is going to present, how a paraplegic patient will be there, how secondary arthritis case will be there. But whenever you have been asked history of presenting illness, every student fumble in that. Whenever you are describing a character of pain, there are 7 to 8 findings what needs to be spoken. If you have presented at least 20 to 25 cases, you will be influent in that. Otherwise, without seeing any paper, when you are facing directly faces of examiners, you will not be able to speak all 8 to 10 characters of pain, or you are going to forget 2 to 3 characters of pain. That's the point where repeated practice is needed. And HPI, history of presenting illness, is the most important part of your long case. If you have not been asked any question while presenting your history of presenting illness, you have not fumbled in between, then definitely you have made a great or a good impression in front of examiners. Now, the tricky part, negative history. Students in exam goes like whatever findings they are knowing that this needs to be spoken in negative history, they start it. No, speak only those relevant things in negative history about which you can give justification, and those things which have correlation with your case. So speak commonly relevant things first, leave less commonly relevant things. Past history or treatment history, strictly speak relevant things only. If your case is of Tom Smith arthritis and you are going in detail about septic arthritis before 2 to 3 years and how he or she was treated, then it's relevant. If your case is something else and you are going in detail about treatment history, the how traction was given, how much time, how much days, then how much he started, and if it's not relevant, then you are going in your grave. Now, long case examination. Always speak gate examination before starting local examination. It's a point of debate. There is a big controversy between head of departments of many colleges that where gate examination needs to be spoken in history in a long case. Many HODs are agree that you start gate before speaking inspection. Many are agrees that you can speak it even after the whole examination is over. But due to somehow, if you are not able to reach your end of the examination in history speaking, then it will be of no value. Gate examination, it's a scoring topic. If the Viva goes in detail, that what type of gate is that, doctor, how, why you are telling antalgic, why you are telling Trendelenburg, then those answers will be advantageous because every students know it. So always it's a thumb rule to get advantageous points from gate examination and Viva. You speak gate examination before starting local examination. Always. Do not go in detail in systemic examination. Just finish it within one sentence. Most of the examiner will not be bothered to ask you any point about systemic examination. If some students goes in detail that in sir cardiovascular examination I have heart murmur, both murmurs are equal, these, both heart sounds are equal with equal gap, then they are going, then chances will be there they will go in detail CVS examination. For pediatric cases, always sterilize your hands before examination in pediatric case. Never forget per rectal examination in spine case. Whatever spine case is there, some students ask that sir, it was not relevant in that spine case. No, you do per rectal examination in each and every spine case. They are going to ask you during Viva directly to patient. Now, special test. Before performing any test, even touching the patient in examination, explain the patient whole test and ask for her or his consent. It will take 1 or 2 minute time, but that's good. Always explain, perform explain the patient before performing the test. Now, while performing the test, so the biggest mistake, if someone has been asked McMurray's test, perform McMurray's test for knee. So students does it very finely, very nicely. But the most common mistake while doing McMurray's test is they forget to look towards patient's face. Patient is wincing or not. You are going to feel that there is tenderness by seeing the patient's face. Patient will be wincing. So while performing test, any test with results of pain or tenderness, always look towards patient's face. The examiner, even in my exam, they were noticing that I am seeing towards patient's face or not. So always see towards patient's face while performing any test, which test results might be pain or tenderness. Now long case. So due to exam fever or due to that pressure, due to that exam stress, many students forget to examine other relevant joints. So never forget to examine other relevant joints. Examples are in a hip case. Also examine contralateral hip joint, both knee joint, and both sacroiliac joints. These are must examination. If you forget these things and examiner have noticed these things, you are going to fail in that long case. Now, the more after history of presenting illness, the second tricky thing in which students get confused is the differential diagnosis. They will allow you to speak whole case, whole examination findings that indicates that you have spoken well. Now, the second tricky thing will be differential diagnosis. Differential diagnosis contains two headings. First one will be anatomical diagnosis, and second is pathological diagnosis. So always speak anatomical diagnosis first, and pathological diagnosis is to be spoken after anatomical. Now, you are knowing that case. Some resident, some SR has told you the diagnosis of that case already in exam also. But always speak common and relevant diagnosis first in spite of that case diagnosis. Better to avoid rare diagnosis unless until that has been asked specifically you that what other diagnosis can be there, and always prefer that things or terms about which you know everything you will be able to speak, because they are going to ask you many things about every differential diagnosis you spoke there. Now, many tricky cases will be there when student will not be able to identify the diagnosis by exam whole examination, or there will be 2 to 3 probable diagnoses from history and examination itself. So if some student is not knowing the diagnosis, then also he or she is not going to fail in the exam. They do not bother about not knowing the diagnosis. They bother about only proper history taking and examination. What examiner wants you to know, they want you to know how to perform correctly the examination, to know the positive findings in history and examination. Positive findings are a must to know. Every student should know positive findings in history and examination. If they are not knowing diagnosis, then it's fine. But positive findings, what findings are there in history, in examination, which suggest some diagnosis? These points must be known. You should be knowing how to justify your differential diagnosis. Points in favor, points not in favor. And to know relevance of your spoken history points or findings. Now about short case. Short case weighs equal marks as long case. There will be 3 short cases, 50 marks each. The advantageous thing about it that most of the examiner, due to time restriction factor, are not going to ask you detailed history or detailed examination findings in short case. They are going to directly ask you about the diagnosis and positive findings. These 2 sentences will decide you will pass or fail in short cases. If someone has spoken diagnosis in 3 to 4 sentences about humerus non-union with recovering nerve palsy, with duration, with cause, with complications, recovering or not, how much duration. So it indirectly gives you 5 to 7 positive findings to examiners in that diagnosis sentence itself. So the diagnosis will be, in short case, will be of 3 to 4 sentences, not of 3 to 4 words. And if you have spoken well diagnosis, then the next question will be, what are the positive findings in history and what are the positive findings in examinations? Now, if you have correctly answered these two questions, you are definitely going to pass in short case. Then further viva will be there until time restriction factor is there, but those questions are going to give you bonus marks. Now, from where to read the diagnosis? So, in a Kaushik Banerjee book, the diagnosis, how to speak in 3 to 4 sentences, are very well given. Very well. Cover every necessary thing about your case in diagnosis, and the thing which gets the examiners get irritated by. Most of the students start the diagnosis with, "Sir, this is a case of 40 years male with 2 years old," and they also add male, female, and their name also. So that they get irritated that I am asking you the diagnosis and you're giving me a patient's age, patient's name for diagnosis. No, that's not the right way. You start diagnosis sentence with, "Sir, this is a case of 2 years old non-union due to like this. Your patient's age, sex come in afterwards in the sentences while ending the sentence. Patient's age, name, sex is not needed in diagnosis to start with." Now, positive findings. Short case, you will have some time after taking history and examination, that half an hour to 1 hour, that your case viva will be there. So in that time, you decide, before entering into viva room, decide in your mind what positive findings in history and examination you are going to tell. Your further viva will go on your positive findings only. Whatever positive finding you are going to tell, they will ask you, show me or perform. If non-union is there, then they are going to ask you on which basis you are telling that the case is of non-union. Then you are going to tell, sir, there is multi-planar mobility is there. Abnormal mobility is there. Then they are going to ask you to perform. So you might be knowing how to perform multi-planar abnormal mobility at that local site. Previously seen or not. Never said, never say that you have not seen any case or implant or instrument previously during your 3 years of residency. It is your fault, not of examiner, to not knowing that. If you say, sir, I have not seen any, even a single CTV case, even cerebral palsy case, there will be many institutes where during whole residency of 3 years, student might not have seen CTV or cerebral palsy case. That's fine, but do not tell them, do not tell examiner that, sir, I have not seen. Always tell, so always say that I have seen or presented it, but I don't know this thing. If you are directly saying, sir, I have not seen or I have not presented this case in my institute, then most probably you are going to fail in that case. The language barrier would be problem for most of the students because the exam is held in different zone. So due to exam center being in the different zone, most of the students have been complaining about language barrier while history taking in long and short cases in exam. So if you feel like, then you can ask nursing staff or other staff to assist you in history taking to translate, then focus on the necessary points in history and examination first, because you will have less time then. And they are very helpful also, that staff, nursing staff and other staff. We have experienced same thing in our exam also. But this is not going to prevent you from passing the exam. So if there is language barrier, you are not knowing their language, they are not knowing your language, they are not knowing Hindi or whatever language is there, you ask some person to help in translation, they are going to help you, but then your more attention would be needed according to time factor. Now, research about the exam center. Whenever you have been given the exam center, always research about your exam center. Each and every center has dominance in at least one or two of the subspecialty of orthopedics, in spine, in arthroscopy, pediatrics. Now now policies, whatever subspecialty. You have to be good in that subject. If possible, try to visit the exam center a day before the examination and make good contact with local residents. They are going to be helpful in the examination. It is must that you know the subspecialty which has been commonly performed at that center. Now, during your residency, attend post-graduation teaching courses as much as possible. Present maximum cases in PG teaching courses and present it seriously. Seriously. Nimesh, now present maximum cases in post-graduation teaching courses. Clear all your doubts in PG courses itself. Do not have any doubt left for your examination. And take seriously those PG courses as seriously you take your exam. Whenever you are presenting a hip or spine or any short case in exam, in PG courses, present it like you are presenting in exam, because there will be examiner faculty itself. Now, the direction of your Viva. Always remember that you have the steering wheel of your Viva. You can divert your Viva whatever you want, wherever you want. I have seen some students diverting their Viva into grave, from which they cannot come out and they got failed. Uh, as for example, if they have asked you the simple question that during hip examination, doctor, any difference is there in flexion and extension of rotations? Any difference is there in internal and external rotation during flexion and extension? So some students over smartly says, yes sir, there is sectoral sign positive. There is no need to show them that you know sectoral sign. Then they are going to ask you sectoral sign in detail. They are going to ask you why there is a difference in flexion extension. Sectoral sign definition itself is controversial about internal rotation, external rotation. So they just simply say that, sir, there is a difference of flexion, internal rotation in flexion and extension of 20 degree. That is a better answer, simple and short answer, in spite of telling a sign's name. Now, you bring everything you need in exam. You do not expect them to arrange it for you. You need to take two marker, permanent marker pen, a goniometer, a measuring tape, a reflex hammer, cotton paste, test tube. Now, more than 50% of students are going to have a spine case. You do not need to taste cold and warm sensation with test tube, but you just need to show them that you are bringing test tube. It makes a good impression. And if someone asks, yes sir, I have tasted cold and hot sensation by help of test tube. A torchlight, a white iron apron, stethoscope, and a white blank paper for roll number with U pen. Now, anywhere in the examination, if you have been asked any question, always start the answer with the word sir and then proceed with the answer. It's a good impression. Now, the most important thing, always remember that the person in the exam room who has extraordinary knowledge and who is well read, who is most well read, is you and you only. You have worked very hard for that exam. In spite of it also, some students get failed due to their own mistakes. Examiners might not have read any specific thing for taking your exam. They are already examiners. They might not be coming by reading the book. So they have usual knowledge which they use in their daily practice. The difference is that they are sitting on the other side of the table. Now you need to know what things to be answered and what not. Now about table viva. If you are not knowing any instrument, any implant, orthosis or prosthesis, or anything in detail, do not act like you know it, but you have forgotten. No, just say directly, sir, I don't know. It doesn't feel they are there to judge you that, "Oh, okay, you are not doing that easy thing." No, they are not going to feel you like that. They are going to ask you another question. If you say that, "Sir, I don't know," but keep that instrument and implant and keep on fumbling, and that examiner gets irritated. They waste 5 minutes of their 10 minutes of table viva, and they get failed. If you have been many students will be asked to select anything on table. So always select easy and common things. Always. Never select uncommon or hard thing. There are many examples that students get failed due to selecting uncommon or hard thing. There is an example, a recent example. One resident got failed in DNB exam because he selected talus and calcaneum on bone table viva over smartly. After selecting talus calcaneum, someone is not knowing how to handle it anatomically. Someone is not knowing what pass underneath lateral process, where is posterior process, where is posterior tubercle, where FHL pass, where do tibialis posterior pass, where are muscle attachment, where are retinacular attachment, where are neurovascular bundle. And then also you are taking talus and calcaneum, then definitely you deserve to fail. Now about X-ray. If you have spoken any diagnosis in X-ray, because X-ray is in front of you at that time on X-ray table viva, you should be knowing its justification or positive finding in X-ray. Otherwise, directly say, "Sir, I cannot appreciate." Specimen also. Everyone has well read the specimens from book. Everyone is knowing how Ewing sarcoma presents, how osteosarcoma presents, how chondromatosis is there. But speak only those things which you are able to see and not those things which you have read about it. You are going to speak many things about multiple myeloma of spine in specimen, but many things will not be there in that particular specimen. So always speak whatever things you are able to see in that specimen. In X-ray and specimen, always give answer in a full, well-formed sentence with full details wherever possible on table viva, and especially in specimen and X-ray description of a tumor. And make a habit of describing any X-ray while your residency in a whole, well-formed, full sentence, and then only you will be confluently saying that sentence in the exam. Ward round. There is a very well book, Upendra Kumar, for ward round and tables. If you have read that book 5 to 6 times, you are going to score more than half of marks in table viva and ward round. So it will be 100 marks. So you are going to score 60 or 70 marks itself from Upendra Kumar. They are going to ask you nothing, even a single question has been asked out of this book. And if it has been asked, then it's a bonus question. So if you have memorized this book enough, then you can score more than 30 marks out of 40 marks in any center and in ward round itself with any examiner. If anything has been asked to you out of this book, then, and if you are not knowing that thing, then for the extraordinary unknown thing, you will not be punished in marks. If someone wants to read even more things about ward round, then read also Kaushik Banerjee. It has also good content of it. After case presentations in Kaushik Banerjee, they have given in detail many things about cast instrument implants. So those 50 or 60 pages are also worth of reading. Now, which other books to be read?